Sick Harrison Price for Thursday, July 16th, 2026, presentation of Bet365. At Bet365, boring games, a thing of the past. Now there's always a reason to tune in, even if the score isn't one of them. Must be 19 plus to play. Please play responsibly. Matt Sakaris with Blake Price, Mike Rogerson hitting switches and conducting things. We invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and to our podcast, wherever you may get your podcasts. Please do leave a like while you are there. So, after a week of heartache, misery, and far too much time on the telephone with telecom providers, Mike Rogerson tells me he thinks we have all our technical gremlins resolved here now, Blake. So thank you all for your patience here. We've had some shows interrupted because of
things beyond our control.
Speed.
Yes. Seems very
There's conspiratorial.
Yeah.
There's a line to be drawn there, but we think it's all
moments
sorted.
after introducing Don Taylor to talk about the closure of a Rogers property. But hey, that's not us. We're not into conspiracy theories. No.
Well, and we have a provider. The hotel has a provider, so it's a little
confusing,
complicated. Yeah. Right. Anyways, good to be back. Good to have you back. Vancouver Canucks schedule dropped today. Well, National Hockey League schedule dropped today across all 32 teams. And that leads us to our daily poll question. Do you plan to support the rebuild by attending Canucks games this season? You can vote yes. You can vote no. Do so at the S&P X and YouTube channels. Mr. Price, I usually go to 2-3 games a year, and I see no reason why this year will be different. I recognize the home team will have even less chance of victory. Although, as last year went along, I mean, they just weren't winning games at Rogers Arena anyways. So, yeah, I will pick out a couple. Usually like to go to one in December, the holiday spirit, the Christmas season upon us. People more up for out and about and fun and festivities. So I like the vibe. Usually like to get to one in December and then typically get to one in the new year. And maybe there's a floater in there. Sometimes I just like to pick a team or a player I'd really like to see for the opposition and hit that one up as well.
I usually go to maybe one. I don't think I went this year to one in the seats.
Yeah, because we usually go with
one or two. Yeah. I think this year I'll probably just go on my media pass because there should be a lot of those hanging around. Should be a lot of open seats in the media box. So I'll just use my media pass for the Vancouver Canucks.
It was most odd the Canucks start restricting media seats at a time when the industry is shrinking, saying, we just don't have room. No.
Trust us.
When you had a very, very robust media, you had plenty of
As for fans and what they will think, I don't know that the two go hand in hand, the theory that do a rebuild, and I will attend if you do a rebuild. I don't think those need to be in conjunction with each other. There's a lot of ways to support this team that don't include going to the arena. I mean, most fans do support the team that way. And I don't just mean by rooting them on. I mean actually financially supporting them. Buying the merchandise and stuff like that is usually, that's the gateway right there, is wearing the colors, paying the money. That ultimately trickles back down to the club. So I'll say that most people won't need that as an excuse to rebuild, and they'll vote no. That would be my guess.
Early voting is pretty heavily yes.
Yeah,
okay. 72%. Yeah, I don't know if there are Canucks fans out there that feel like, now I owe it to them because I've been screaming for a rebuild. Yeah, the guilt. I've been screaming for a rebuild for so long.
We're not
now
a
that
religion,
they're finally
folks.
rebuilding.
We're not a religion. It doesn't come with guilt. Yeah. It's just hockey.
Now, of course, the other thing, and we'll see how this season goes. Needless to say, I think there's a little bit of worry over at Rogers Arena about what the crowds are going to look like this season. But, of course, last year, as the season went along, and the Canucks showed themselves to be the worst team in the NHL and just an abysmal home record. They did get to 10 wins, though, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I think it did, yeah.
At Rogers Arena, after these losses started piling up, and particularly the home losses, we started tracking just how cheap tickets were getting on the secondary market. I mean, it was down, I think I saw as low as $60 a seat, like 12 rows up in the lower bowl towards the end of last year, as these home games kept popping up and the team just kept losing. I mean, we talked, it was one of the big themes of last year. They weren't a great team on the road by any stretch of the imagination, but they were respectable.
If that road record was at home,
you could make the playoffs with that road record if you took care of your business at home.
Well, and if you flip-flopped it, I think fans would have been quite happy at the rate of return in terms of, a last place team. If you'd won as much on the road as you did at home, I think people would have been like, oh, I get my money's worth at least. I get to see some yays and cheer on some goals. But, at the end of a trying season, though, too, Matt, after you've jettisoned a bunch of players, too, at the deadline and such and throughout the season, the reason to show up wasn't there. You weren't going to see a win, most likely, and you had no curiosities. At least in the first half of this year, win or lose, there will be curiosities. And I think that will bring people to the barn, at least in the first third of the season, if not the first half of the season, and the curiosity of the development of these players. What does Steve Bullion look like with another year under his belt? Tom Verlander, Jonathan Lekramaki when he gets back. I think there's enough reason to cast a glance. And who knows, maybe Braden Coots. We'll see.
Yeah. So there you go. Vote Sick Harrison Price, X, and YouTube. Let's just stay on the schedule here, since that's the topic du jour. Schedule released today, 84 games. League is moving back to 84 games. Some of you might be old enough to remember 35 years ago when the NHL went to 84 games for a couple of seasons. Of course, has been 82, but they're back to 84 games. And Blake, very important here, all times local.
Yes.
We addressed this yesterday in the National Hockey League. Made sure to underline that in the release of the schedule today because of,
well, the uncertainty surrounding daylight savings time and whether or not this will happen in time for the season or mid-season. Believe it or not, folks, Capitol Hill is not going to make decisions on daylight savings time around the schedule of the National Hockey League. So all the, previously it would have been posted in maybe Eastern and Pacific or just Eastern. But they're just staying away from the confusion. Although this creates a lot of homework because you're like, what time zone is Colorado in again? And that one's easy, I guess, Mountain.
Yeah.
But others less so.
At some point, you will see a schedule with every game listed in Pacific time. But we may need Congress to act before anybody dares put that out.
Right, because
it could be wrong.
Like Vancouver and Seattle could be in different time zones.
It can't happen. Can't happen. It'd just be lunacy.
But it could happen mid-year.
You live in White Rock. You cross the border. You lose an hour. Come on.
Fallback is usually first week of November, right? So, but maybe if they get this across the line, maybe they don't enact it till November the 1st. So maybe the first month of the season, Seattle and Vancouver are on separate time zones, but then they're back in harmony later.
I can't abide. My brain cannot take that. Because especially if we're talking about beyond the NHL, we're talking about football and everything else that's going on. By
the way, we're going to have a special guest on Monday to speak to this and the science behind this.
Well, we'll tell you. We're having the sleep doctor on, Pat Byrne, the guy who revolutionized Vancouver Canucks travel, if not sports team travel, in working in the Gillis administration all those years ago. Blake and I have stayed up with Pat I've gone to dinner with him a couple of times. He's just a brilliant guy.
So the sports science behind that is there.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're on different time zones than people south of them, but also just on there's a science that says we should have been permanent daylight standard, not the scientists will all say, and we'll see if he backs this up. Daylight standard is better for our circadian rhythms than daylight savings time.
What if I wore a bracelet to compensate? Would that work out?
It has to be copper. Has to be copper, and go from your wrist to your elbow.
So anyways, the sleep doctor, Pat Byrne, we've been talking to him here for a couple of weeks about having him on the show. We said, okay, we'll tie it to when the schedule is released, but he wanted some time to sit down and sink his brain into this Canucks schedule like he used to do for Gillis and LA Vigneault to advise on travel. So he is currently digesting all of this, and I'm sure he'll be able to point out some of the trouble spots in the schedule as we go forward, although trouble spots takes on a different meaning this year because, of course, there's a big part of the fan base. I'm sure upper management would be okay with, a lot of losses and the best chance at Landon DuPont.
Maybe you sabotage the sleep, right? We should stay here, so we won't.
So we're coming home. They'll be home at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
They'll be really out of sorts for that first home game back. That's a trap game.
Go ahead and go to the Roxy tonight.
Yeah, exactly. So all times local until we hear from the U.S. Senate. The House has passed it. We're waiting on the Senate. President Trump said he would also stamp of approval.
And by the way, we didn't know yesterday. We'll get ahead of E's and O's here. Alberta is with BC on this. They went to daylight savings permanently as well. So it's Manitoba East, basically, and Yukon, I suppose, that are waiting as well.
It just makes my brain hurt.
Yeah.
So the big marquee game, the one that everybody was waiting for, is the Quinn Hughes return game at Rogers Arena because, of course, Quinn Hughes traded to Minnesota last December. The Wild had already visited Rogers Arena at that point. They were only playing one game in Vancouver last season, and so we missed Quinn Hughes as a member of the Minnesota Wild, of course, former Vancouver Canucks captain. Well, won't have to wait long. October 25th, first month of the schedule. Quinn Hughes will be here. That is what the 12th game of the season, something like that. He'll also be here, presuming he's healthy, on November 21st. And I suspect he will not receive a warm welcome.
No, I think it's going to just be the decibel level of the boos. They will be audible. Do you think it is overwhelming? Or do you think it's just kind of token?
I think it could be overwhelming, yeah.
Like Duncan Keith touching the puck.
Something like
level,
that. Yep.
Something like that.
Yep. Look, people call him Quit Hughes, right?
Yeah, that's right.
It's also going to be interesting to see the signs and banners in the crowd, if Rogers Arena allows signs and banners in the crowd about Quinn Hughes, huh?
Yeah, I could see them policing that to try to stay on the classy side of things. Mm-hmm. But
I just hope his brother gets his gold medal puck, because Daddy wants it for his collection. By the way, did you see Ellen illegally parked there in Ann Arbor?
I did see that, yes.
If you missed this, Ellen Hughes just pulled up and parked in an intersection to run in and get her coffee, and somebody confronted her with a phone. Is that you who parked there? And she's like, yeah, I'm leaving now.
Who among us hasn't parked illegally to run in?
In an intersection? In Ann Arbor. Blake, this is not downtown New York City. This is
Main street of a small town,
Main street small town. I'll just pull it into a...
Well, across the pedestrian crosswalk is the biggest issue.
Yeah.
Across the crosswalk. Yeah.
Hey, with examples like that, The defending Stanley Cup champion Carolina Hurricanes are here early in the season as well on October 20th. So are the Leafs. It is a Saturday Halloween game against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and yes, that is a 4 p.m. start at Rogers Arena. That early window on hockey. Oh, no, it's not hockey night in Canada.
No.
On just another national night from Rogers Sportsnet.
Which is the predominant night on the schedule for the Vancouver Canucks this season. 25 games? Is that what
On Saturdays?
On Saturdays?
Yeah,
I guess that's
play a lot of Saturdays.
24 of their games on Saturdays, which is more than 25% of the season. But in that case, on Halloween, it's not a good, like, you're nixing a lot of kids
At
going
4
to that.
p.m. 4 p.m.
You're nixing a lot of kids, and then
Can you not, your dad, can you not go to the game, leave at 6:30 and still trick or treat?
If you're close by, I mean, folks in South Surrey aren't going to be able to do that. They're not going to make it. If it's an overtime game and there's traffic, it's a Saturday night, so there'll be some traffic downtown in the early evening.
And of course,
that's tight.
There's not a lot of single-dwelling homes in downtown Vancouver. I'm not sure you can trick or treat Yaletown or Gastown. All that
No,
readily,
not so much. So parents that have young kids, they probably don't want to go to that game either.
Mm-hmm.
Not ideal. Not ideal. Hey, Halloween games are tough anyhow, but 4 p.m. in particular, especially with young kids. The older kids, they'll be fun. You can take your 16-year-old or even your 10-year-old. They'll be out till 8:30 p.m. anyway.
I'm just thinking the neighborhoods just across the bridge there where you do have single-dwelling homes. You may get a lot of trick-or-treaters this year. We're bringing kids to the hockey game and then trying to trick or treat thereafter, right? South Granville, Mount Pleasant, get ready. Here they
Interlopers
come.
will be there.
Here they come.
Yes.
The Philadelphia Flyers and New York Rangers are here in the same week. They bookend a Monday, Friday. It's a bit of an odd schedule that week. So Rick Tocchet and the Flyers are here November 9th, a Monday, and then Friday the 13th for JT Miller and Marcus Pettersson, New York Ranger. Alexander Ovechkin and the Washington Capitals here on December 7th. We say it every year. Maybe it's the last time to see the NHL's all-time leading goal scorer. Or I guess one of, but now officially the NHL all-time lead. And he says he wants to get to 1,000. Says he wants to keep playing until he gets to 1,000 goals. So maybe it's several more years of Alex Ovechkin.
Wow.
That story went so quiet. You remember how one day we were with Jeff Merrick and we just sort of went, oh, by the way, is Ovechkin going to play next year?
Yeah, I know.
And sure enough, yes, he has decided to play. Signed a one-year deal, so we'll see where it goes. The Montreal Canadiens are here on February 1st. The Pittsburgh Penguins, Sidney Crosby. How many more times are you going to get to see Canada's golden child? He's here on February 16th, site of his biggest goal ever.
You mentioned Adam Foote yet?
No.
Adam Foote's Utah Mammoth.
He's an assistant coach.
December the 21st.
Izzy made us this list here of all the returning.
She was so
well done, Izzy.
She's already promoted Danila Klimovich to the National Hockey League.
Oh,
I'm sure
goodness.
that'll draw a big crowd on November the 9th.
The Belarusian diaspora here in Vancouver will be all over that game. Nils Höglander on December 10th with the Predators. More on them in a bit. Curtis Douglas. Wow.
Yeah,
This has gone deep.
Yeah.
Oh, Connor Garland, January 16th. I almost forgot about him.
Any booze there?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
He wanted out. He also had a lot of fans as well, though.
Yes.
I see most.
That's a tough one.
I could see mixed. I could see not quite as discernible, but regardless, I see or hear a much lower level on the volume for that.
I think
for Quinn Hughes.
I think it'll be a golf clap for Tyler Myers.
I think it'll be more than a golf clap
Yeah?
for Tyler Myers. Yeah.
Okay.
I think people like him. Good human. Macklin Celebrini of Vancouver is here with the San Jose Sharks, December 19th and April 3rd. And North Vancouver's Connor Bedard, November 22nd and March 3rd. Based on the timeline and the schedule,
be
the
both.
Hawks
Yeah.
put out for Bedard's recovery after that shoulder injury. Well, here recreationally playing, right?
I saw Chicago media saying he's back in November, so
Yeah,
that
so
sounds good.
Should be go time for Connor Bedard on the 22nd. 7 of the first 10 games are on the road. It's home heavy in the second half. So you have 22 of the first 42 on the road. They play a Boxing Day game. As you know, the National Hockey League goes dark at Christmas. They do not do the NBA, NFL model of games on Christmas Eve.
It's a really
Christmas
interesting
Day.
week for the Canucks. They play the Monday, and then they're off all week long until Boxing Day on the Saturday.
Yeah, and that's against the Calgary Flames, and that's what is it? Is that an evening start?
It's 7 Pacific time,
Okay,
whatever that means.
and that's home.
That's a road game
Oh, road
on
game.
Boxing Day. Yeah.
Actually, road game on Boxing Day. The Canucks will also, more than likely, close down Calgary's Saddle Dome. They are scheduled to play the final regular season game at the Saddle Dome on April 10th, and unless the Calgary Flames advance to the playoffs, that will be that for an arena that,
Wow.
at the very least, is iconic in its look on the outside.
Yes.
Not the most functional.
Some obscured sight lines up high.
Yeah, but the Saddle Dome, of course, has been a big part of Calgary's skyline since the 1988 Olympics.
Yeah.
So we'll see. That could be the final game at the Saddle Dome. There's 11 matinees. I'm including 5 p.m. starts as matinees. And, of course, a lot of these are out in the Eastern time zone where their evening starts there.
So
but
minus
matinees
2
for
to
us.
3 hours, yes.
Yes. Thank you. Homestands, they have a 7-gamer between February 1st and 21st. They have a 6-gamer between St. Paddy's Day, March 17th, and the 27th. That's a lot of games. A 5-gamer between January 5th and 17th. Road trips. Honestly, not all that bad. Like, if we were sitting here looking at a Canucks team that we're thinking, oh, nip and tuck to the playoffs, every game, every 2 points going to matter. So there's a 7-game trip in January. There's a 6-game trip in October. Is it 6 or is it 5 in October?
It's 5-7-5, I believe. Or 6-5-6-7-5. That's what it is. 6-7-5.
6-gamers in October. I asked you to.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then a 5-gamer in March.
Yeah.
10 sets of back-to-back games, 5 of them at home, 5 of them requiring travel. We'll talk to the sleep doctor about this Monday. I think the Utah-Seattle turnaround, they play in Salt Lake City on January 2nd and then turn around, play in Seattle the next day. And then right at the end of the year, April 9th, 10th, at Winnipeg, then at Calgary. I think those are probably the 2 toughest turnarounds travel-wise. The other ones are Vegas, Utah, Chicago, Pittsburgh, Toronto, Ottawa.
But we're still talking 2.5-hour flights. That's not the end of the world.
No.
Yeah.
And, of course, the home opener October 1st versus Edmonton, but the regular season opener September 29th, and the Daily Hive has done the math here. That is the earliest, not this one, October 1st. But October 1st is actually the earliest the Canucks have ever played an NHL regular season game. They did so in 2009 against the Calgary Flames. So the season opener, September 29th in Edmonton, is now officially the earliest regular season game in the Vancouver Canucks 55-56-year history.
The technicality of the games in Sweden, even the games in Sweden weren't that early?
Not according to the Daily Hive,
Really?
but I stand to be corrected on that. I will put that down for Easonos.
Yeah. I mean, back then they might have started so late that even the Sweden games were beyond that date. It's quite possible.
Mm-hmm.
But as we talked about with opening night, I mean, it's just great to see that it's busy on opening night.
What was the other E&O we were going to look at for Monday's show? You said earlier in the...
I've already forgotten.
Yeah.
We'll have to go back and watch.
What I love about working with Blake is mine's just a trap. Information goes in there, he's got it at the ready.
I'm like that character in 51st Dates. Yeah. Tell me 10 seconds later, don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
Don't remember.
It's great when you're meeting new people. Oh, hi, I'm Jack. 10 seconds later. Your name was again.
Have we met?
Refresh me on your name. All right, so there you go on the schedule. We will unpack more on Monday. Let's get to our top story, brought to you by Yellow Dog Brewing, Neighborhood Brewing, Foolish Winery. Music to Petey's ears? ? How would Elias Pettersson feel about a trade to Nashville? A no-income tax state where he'd keep more of his $11.6 million salary. He'd play for a team that some rank as the most improved in the NHL over the summer. And, of course, not have the glare of a Canadian media market. Boy, there are not many markets that are quieter than Nashville, right? Story in the hockey news today linking the Canucks' efforts to trade Elias Pettersson with the happenings in Nashville, where new general manager Chris McFarland, coming over from the Colorado Avalanche, has a roster crunch and a flush pipeline of prospects. The headline, trade rumors persist regarding Canucks center Elias Pettersson and Nashville winger Jonathan Marchessault. The Predators would like to get off the final 3 years of Jonathan Marchessault's contract. The 35-year-old winger managed just 12 goals and 31 points last year. That was down 25 from the previous year, albeit in 16 fewer games. Marchessault has a full no-move clause this year. It reverts to a no-trade clause next year, and that leaves open the possibility of demotion to the minors. That clause, if we think back to Roberto Luongo's 12-year backdiving contract, Blake, do you remember? I think it was the final 3 years of that deal. The no move turned into the no trade. And I can remember asking Gilman and Gillis at the time, why would it go from no move to no trade? No move means you can't put them in the minors. No trade means you can put them in the minors. And, of course, sometimes that is a way of sort of encouraging a player to either waive trade protection or maybe even retire.
Yes. And but the term is just not too punitive either. Like, it's 3 years. Canucks are 3 years of rebuilding for sure. So, and the cap hit is relative. If that's the bad contract that the Vancouver Canucks have to take on, it's not horrific.
Marchessault, 15-team no-trade clause in the final year of his deal, 28-29. And here's the thing, the cap hit at $5.5 million is one thing, but he's only due $10.65 million in actual cash over the next 3 seasons.
16 and a half.
Right. So on average, he's costing you $3.2 million in cash, and that could appeal to ownership as it seeks to reduce costs during this rebuild, right?
Yes, I catch your drift.
Now, the Predators have 26 active players on their roster, and barring injury can only keep 23 for their opening night roster. They made 4 trades this offseason, adding Canucks winger Nils Höglander, Avalanche forwards Jack Drury, Ross Colton, and a deal with the Stars that netted young forward Maverick Bourque and defenseman Ilya Lyubushkin. But, of course, they also signed that coveted KHL free agent Vitaly Pinchuk, and they're promoting one-time second-round pick Felix Nielsen, a center who had an excellent year in Sweden's top division last year. You put it all together, and Dom Lucian of The Athletic ranks the Nashville Predators as the most improved team in the NHL offseason. You can see the Canucks are down there at number 13, but he's got the Predators, Rangers, Capitals, Leafs, and Devils as most improved. Poor Buffalo. He's got Buffalo ranked as the least improved.
To what do you think he's attributing the Canucks in the middle of the pack there? Like, are we talking about organizational health? Because they've committed to the rebuild? Is that what we're talking
full
about?
Full disclosure, I did I did not read the accompanying article. I just saw the list.
That's the only way. That's the only
Well,
thing I can
Blake,
think of.
The coaching change, the system, the structure
Yeah.
can only get better.
Yeah.
Right?
Maybe it's
Brendan
that.
Gallagher, the culture can only get better.
Yeah.
Maybe he's a Paul Cotter fan. Maybe he thinks Alexiak and Shen can more than make up for Marcus Pettersson.
Maybe.
I mean, it's not like
We're not talking
said
world
goodbye
changing,
to
though.
a bunch of top flight free agents or anything like that.
Curious.
So look, moving out Marchessault, if not more other roster players, is part of the exercise for McFarland and the Predators here. Nashville has about $8.7 million in cap space, so they have the room to add the full freight of Pettersson at 11.6 if they're sending Marchessault and his 5.5 back to the Canucks. That would be about a $6 million dip for the Canucks. It would put them close to the salary cap floor, but no panic. Infinitely manageable. And, of course, Marchessault right now is a negative asset, right? So the Canucks would need more, needless to say. And boy, are the Predators well-stocked there as well, Blake. We're going to start with their reserve list and work our way up. Mike, if you can bring that up. So here's the Predators reserved list. This is unsigned draft picks, of which they have 5 first-rounders there. Wyatt Cullen and Thomas Blyle, the 2 guys they picked in the first round this year. Cameron Reed, a defenseman. Riker Lee, a winger, taken in the first round last year. And then Igor Surin, a Russian center who had a very nice KHL season, a first-rounder in 2024. Not to mention they have 3 second-round picks there, including Canadian World Junior goaltender
Ivan Kovic,
Jacob Rombach, who is a big and mobile defenseman, and Teddy Stiga, who's an interesting American World Junior. So on the reserve list, unsigned draft picks alone, Blake, they've got some pretty decent prospects there.
Yeah.
Then you move up to their American Hockey League level, and some of these guys have dipped toe in the National Hockey League, but they have 3 first-round forwards playing at the AHL level. David Edstrom, who was part of the was a San Jose draft pick, moved to Vegas and then Nashville, if I'm not mistaken. Joakim Kemmel, who was a first-round, he's 22 now. He's had good AHL seasons. Dip toe, hasn't really made it happen in the NHL yet. Reed Schaefer was a first-round pick, also 22, winger, who's had good AHL seasons. And then Tanner Molendyk, who's a terrific young defenseman, 21 years old, left-shot defenseman at the AHL level. Boy, you got prospects in the AHL. You've got unsigned draft pick prospects across the world who look pretty good. Not chock-a-block with like young roster players that I would identify, although Victoria's Matthew Wood is there as well, also a first-round pick. So McFarland needs to move bodies out. He's got cap space, and he's got prospects. And you just sit there and you go, And, of course, Ryan Johnson's pretty familiar with that organization because RJ's lived in Nashville in the offseason.
Not to mention, with all those prospects, they may not be completely committed to that first-round pick that they've got, which, if all goes according to plan, I mean, I don't think they're planning on winning the Cup next year, but I think they plan on being decent. And if you're, how much are you coveting your 19th overall pick?
Yep.
You may not be.
Yep. Nashville has all their first-round picks over the next 4 years. They have an additional second-round pick in 2028. And, of course, Chris McFarland is not tied to some of these previous first-rounders, right?
Yeah.
They weren't his picks.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he may be more inclined to do that than peel off a first-round pick that he wants to make as the first year as the GM, right?
Right. So there's those reports in Pittsburgh, and they do originate out of Pittsburgh, where Penguins, people who cover the Penguins think that Kyle Dubas is interested in Elias Pettersson, and that is going to be talking to the Canucks over the course of the summer. Of course, we've always had L.A. and Anaheim, and part L.A. because of the dearth of center after the Onze Kopitar.
Mm-hmm.
Some people want to put Pettersson in Montreal with the need for a second-line center, although that market has media glare and a whole lot of taxes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just wonder, Nashville's a quieter market.
Oh.
Don't get a ton of news coming out of Nashville.
No.
He can walk up and down Broadway there. I can't imagine he will be all that recognized.
Not a chance.
Yeah.
And one block away from Broadway, he's definitely not getting recognized.
And he doesn't have to pay any state income tax in the state of Tennessee. Just wondering. But that's an interesting connection when you're looking in the offseason about teams and players. And who fits
and every home
where.
in his price range comes with about 5 hectares of land. Lots of privacy
Go out
there,
to
too.
the suburbs there, Franklin, Tennessee.
Yeah.
You meet all these stars of country music. And, of course, center's long been a weak spot for the Nashville Predators, right? It seems like that's a franchise that over the course of its quarter century of history plus has always been needing more and more center iceman. They still got O'Reilly. They got Drury. They got some guys who can play center, but including Westman's Alex Kerfoot. But, yeah, I do wonder if a pure centerman like Pettersson fits the bill.
Man, I tweeted something out earlier I got a lot of traction with people. It was Jay Fresh Hockey's player card for Elias Pettersson from just 2 years ago. 2 years, 2 months ago, 3 months ago. Announcing his extension. Elias Pettersson extended 8 by 11.6 is an elite number one center whose extreme efficiency all over the ice and ability to orchestrate offense from distance leads to high production rates, especially primary assists.
Yeah.
His projected wins above replacement at 98 percentile. Matt, we're talking 27 months ago.
And Blake nailed it.
Like there it is.
Yeah. He was every bit that guy.
And you can go see the ancestral comments below that.
And he's gotten better as a defensive player since then, Blake.
Yeah.
Like, that's the weakest spot on the card outside of the penalty killing.
Well, 22-23 was great defensively, but yeah. It's just you want to pull whatever hair you got left out at this point when you look at that and just think how, why. And everybody's got theories. I know you're all screaming. It's because of and most of those reasons are probable, are valid.
Yeah.
But it's still unbelievable.
I mean, you almost forget. You look at the numbers there, first assists and goals. He was an elite setup guy who also finished his fair share of chances.
The shot was amazing.
Makes you want to drink.
That's enough to drive a man. Great stuff. I'm going to go camping here this weekend. Need some beers in the back. Chase My Tail Pale Ale, 4-packs. On special for the month of July. Tall cans. Look for it on sale at your private and government liquor store. I might have 8. Not in one sitting. I mean, I might go buy 8. Sorry.
Rick Dhaliwal reporting the Canucks interviewed and offered the Abbotsford Canucks head coaching job to Memorial Cup winning coach UC Ahokas of the Kitchener Rangers, who, of course, lifted that trophy here in the province of British Columbia, Kelowna, after beating Everett. Rick says he believes Ahokas turned it down. Ahokas is viewed as a good, young, up-and-coming coach. He works for Bob McKenzie's son, Mike, who is the general manager of the Kitchener Rangers. So he may have another job in the AHL. Maybe he has a job. Who knows? Maybe even the NHL.
Only
But
45, so he's got some time.
The Abbotsford coaching staff, of course, is now a big to-do item for Ryan Johnson and the organization after elevating Manny Malhotra and his lead assistant, Jordan Smith, to the NHL bench. Sadly, it looks like more bad news is coming to the Canadian media landscape if it hasn't already. I haven't checked to see if the announcements have come. Not sure how deeply, if at all, this is going to affect Canadian sports media, but here's Jonas Siegel, the digital marketing expert who covers the Canadian sports media landscape, saying that tomorrow, meaning today, he tweeted this last night, Chorus is gutting the production of news in Calgary and Edmonton. All production will be 100% Toronto-based. Lots of jobs lost. Because who covers Calgary and Edmonton better than the folks in Toronto, right?
I can't imagine what the reaction is there. I can't imagine.
And is Chorus, pissed here because they're second to the party after Rogers last week? And so now they're looking like even a worse bad guy, the piling on, or is Rogers pissed because Chorus is bringing everybody's memory back?
I think everybody's like, okay, this is bad news. Let's throw in some more bad news into the salad. It'll get lost in the salad.
So I just saw an update on that. I don't know if it's official or whatever, but the stations aren't being shut down, just all the production staff.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
thank heavens they're keeping their stations.
But what does that mean? If the news production should
I don't know.
Remote production from Toronto.
I know, but
are there hosts in Calgary and Edmonton?
As far as Twitter is saying right now.
I see. I mean, so a few reporters and local anchors will remain, presumably.
The Chorus stock closed at 4 cents yesterday, and I was speaking with a friend in Toronto last night who spent early part of his career in Calgary, and he said to me, Matt, I'm a global news and morning show guy here in Toronto. And I went, really? And he went, well, global was such a heavyweight when I lived in Calgary. And, of course, same thing here in Vancouver, right? Yeah. Where global is the go-to and legacy news and morning show. And Edmonton as well. Of course, Global started in Winnipeg. Izzy Asper was a very staunch Western Canadian company. And the big divide is Manitoba-Ontario border. Like everyone west of that border, Global is a big news source.
Sure, yeah.
Everywhere east of Global is not. I mean, if you were a serious person on Bay Street or Parliament Hill, Blake, and you said, my news station is they'd laugh at you, right? No, they're CTV, they're CBC.
CP24.
And Jonah also reporting Bell could be making changes in Windsor and London in the coming days. There are CTV stations in both Windsor and London, Ontario. There are 5 radio stations between those two markets, and he's watching that as well.
Yep. I wonder when people, do you think it would it'll, and I think we've already seen it south of the border. I don't think it'll ever get to this point where people, take action, picket or, protest, does it ever get to that point?
I think they vote with their wallets and their choice of cell phone and
but when you don't have a choice, when
I know.
They're all guilty. What do you do?
No, fair enough.
And as we found out,
I think you got
all facets of the business.
Mm-hmm.
We've been on our technical internet issue here for months.
Well, it got pronounced in the last week, but yes.
But we started the process months ago. The first time anybody actually said, I will take action for you, was 2 days ago.
We have a friend who recently lost a parent, and they're trying to cancel Dad's cell phone contract because Dad's not with us anymore. That's laborious.
Yeah.
They last said to us, boy, be easier just to let this thing expire than try and cancel it. I think that's the point.
Yep. Money for nothing.
Also in media news, golf fans were big mad this morning at Rogers and also other cable providers. So it's the Open Championship from Royal Birkdale, But here's the thing. Early round coverage of the Open Championship on Thursday and Friday is owned by Golf Channel, not TSN.
In Canada.
Mm-hmm. TSN has your wall-to-wall coverage Saturday, Sunday of the Open Championship, but the early round coverage on Thursday and Friday is a Golf Channel property. But that means Canadian cable operators who carry Golf Channel got to hit the switch to take the live feed of coverage of the Open Championship from what Golf Channel is running in the United States.
Right.
And they usually just throw up Golf Channel Academy teaching learning sessions.
They know they can't win the ratings battle.
Exactly.
So
they're up against live golf and big live golf, important live golf.
So they put syndicated
so
stuff
they
on.
put syndicated how-to instructional programming about your golf swing. Cable operators in Canada were late to make the switch this morning. Subscribers are saying, well, it's all the staff cuts. They don't have anybody to hit the switch anymore, Blake. This is the second straight year that Rogers has done this.
But they also have automated systems that should have caught this too. It's just
in what world? Like, how Mickey Mouse is that?
And again, it's not.
You've got it on the schedule. You're showing the Open Championship at whatever ungodly hour in the morning. It starts Thursday, Friday on Golf Channel.
And we're not talking about a Tennis Masters 250 event in Stuttgart. You know, like if you forget to flick that switch, you've got a few nasty emails. This is the Open Championship once per year.
Biggest golf tournament in the world.
Get it right.
I saw one guy in the comments say, I took work off for this today.
Right.
And I'm sitting here watching. Well, you know, you want to get that right hip just so.
Before you turn.
On the backswing.
Oh, my God.
Oh. What are we doing here, guys? Come on. There's a certain level of standard that Canadians expect from you as a cable provider, as a news source, as an internet provider. Okay, let's get to better stories here. The Sedins, twins, co-presidents of Vancouver Canucks, they're going to race each other up the grouse grind. It's going down Sunday, September 27th in the morning. The money raised is going to go to the Sedin Family Foundation.
Here's the thing.
Which, according to its website, makes annual gifts to programs that support children's health and education with a focus on family wellness in the communities.
Do you know what the Sedins call this? They call this Saturday.
Yeah. Or Sunday, as the case may be.
They probably were doing this anyway. They're like, hey, we could probably make something of this. So they did it.
The public can get in on the action here, being assigned to either Team Daniel or Team Henrik. You can buy a ticket and get in. Daniel bested Henrik in the Sun Run by about 1 minute.
That's endurance versus power, though.
He beat Henrik in the marathon by 13 minutes. Boy, Henrik's really let himself go here. And then there was a 25-kilometer trail race through the mountains. They finished 2 seconds apart.
Not 22?
2.3.
That's appropriate, too, though. 2s and 3s are important.
Now,
in their
as even Henrik will grudgingly admit, Daniel does tend to win more of the athletic contests between them. I'm out of date with this, but the exception was golf back in the day. Daniel would typically choke down the stretch when he had a chance to beat Henrik in golf. And when I brought that up to Daniel once, he said, yeah, but ask him about chess, and then started pointing to his head.
Okay, but here's the other thing that gives Henrik some possibilities here. You mentioned the Sun Run and the marathon. There's elevation changes, but it's flat running, lower elevation changes. As soon as you went to the trail run, guess what? That gap shrunk all the way down to 2.3 seconds. Footing.
About 2, I made up the 0.3.
Oh, footing and a bigger elevation change. You go to the big elevation change and footing. I think Henrik takes this.
I think it's going to be a tie, and we'll go to the tiebreaker, which is the best time from a contestant on either Team Daniel or Team.
Ah, okay.
Do you remember the time Daniel did it 11 times back to back?
in a day. Yeah.
Yeah, I have friends that do that. It's crazy.
I'm just glad he got the presidency of the Vancouver Canucks because 11 times in one day, boy, he needed a day job. That's a lot of time on your hands.
I have friends that compete in these events where you, in one day, do the equivalent of climbing Everest.
Oh, God.
And you know, wherever it is, Whistler, Utah, you climb up, take the gondola down, climb up, and you keep doing that until you've equated Everest. That's fun for people.
Is there any yodeling that goes along with that?
I think that's Alps, not Everest.
Ah, fair.
Yeah.
Just thinking of the old Price is Right game with the yodeler.
I would like a Sherpa for that. Just climb on the back of a Sherpa.
Right.
Does that count? Because that's very Everesty.
Did Lyndon just climb at Everest? Was he not on a mountain climbing excursion
Doesn't
in the
ring a bell.
Himalayas? Okay. Let's get to today's menu. It's brought to you by our friends at Greta, a fantastic spot to pregame or postgame. You are mere steps from the arena and the stadium. It is also the venue for your next private function, whether that's a team party, family event, workplace outing. They have a private area at the back of the bar. It's got its own bar, so you don't wait for drinks. It's surrounded by screens. You can watch whatever game you want. And, of course, the arcade. Everybody will love the arcade. It will set Greta apart. Plus, an approachable menu of street food. The birria tacos are absolutely delicious. For more info to book your event, go to gretabar.com. Greta 50 West Cordova. Let the games begin. We're going to talk to Kevin Woodley of InGoal Media here. Yes, we're going to talk to him about his expertise, goaltenders, Canucks goaltenders, Demko, Lankinen, Tolopilo, who has
Ian
to go.
Clark
Ian
stuff.
Clark.
Yeah.
Tolopilo, who, of course, has to go through waivers now. But we're also going to talk to him about the shuttering of Sportsnet 650. Kevin did a lot of work for them from the jump, helped build that station. And, of course, Kevin is also an extraordinary example, maybe the best example, of independent local media. Kevin will tell his story about getting into this industry, but the bottom line is he found a niche in an area where he has expertise, and he and a partner built a company out of it, a company that is now one of the leading, if not the leading, media company in the field of hockey goaltending. I know Clearsight Analytics is out there and does very, very great work as well with, blanking on his name, the ex-Rangers goalie. Valaket, Steve Valaket. Yeah.
Clearsight.
Yeah, Clearsight Analytics. But anyways, yeah, and how do I know that? I was sitting at home one day. This was several years ago now, too. And I get a text message from someone I know in an NHL front office. Matt, do you have Kevin Woodley's contact? I need to talk to him about something. I went, yeah, sure. What's it about? He goes, he's seen some minor league goalies that we're interested in, and I want his 2 cents. I was like, okay. Kevin's arrived here. If he's got NHL front offices contacting him saying, hey, what do you think about this guy? What do you think about that goalie? So anyways, Kevin's going to join us. We'll also talk to Vanni Sartini, our World Cup insider, the former head coach of the Whitecaps, current head coach of Halifax Wanderers after a collapse for the ages. Did we not say England, Argentina, all the drama always? They wrote another chapter. There was no hand of God, but my goodness, it seemed divine or divinely inspired what Lionel Messi did last night.
Was it written in the cards when Jordan Henderson of England broke his arm celebrating the win in Mexico?
It may well have been. Blake and I were watching it, and I said, this has the markings of Lionel Messi getting one opportunity and scoring the tying goal. And, you know, England loses in the 93rd or 94th minute, heartbreak.
Yeah, you're off by a few minutes.
Yeah, I think I don't know how the kingdom goes on today. If the sun rose over Jolly Well.
And yeah, it's not usually visible anyhow. But
hey, we're in that week of British summer.
Oh yeah,
this week and only this week, so maybe. And then later in the program, we heard from Thomas Müller yesterday at Whitecaps training. They're back at it tonight against Chicago in the resumption of the MLS schedule.
A note, because they're in Chicago, 5:30 actually kickoff.
Mm-hmm.
So 5 o'clock was a matinee in your hockey books. 5:30.
Yeah. Lions are back at it tomorrow in Edmonton after the bye, and they're getting healthier. Of course, baseball season resumes tomorrow, and the Open Championship. Nick Taylor, pretty good in round one. Keep it up, Nick. Time now for our Bet365 bets of the day. I was the loser again. I was on England. I started very well on World Cup. Group stage, I was just knocking them off. But the knockout round has proved more challenging. Now, Argentina needed late game heroics in regular time yesterday, and of course, the miracle comeback against Egypt. They also required extra time versus Cape Verde and Switzerland. So you know where this is heading, right? The next logical step, Argentina gets to penalties. Let's have some fun. Let's have it go the distance. Only with a new champ. Give me Spain to win in penalties, paying plus 850.
I gave you my Lions Elks prognostication earlier in the week. I gave it early because it's come down a little bit. Listen to me. If you see a good early line, you got to jump on it. But the Lions are going to have to pull at all the stops to get one over on the Elks once more. And when they do have to pull out all the stops, you know what happens usually? I find Nathan Rourke takes matters into his own hands sometimes. Trust. An anytime touchdown from Nathan Rourke, plus 125.
Yep. The worst thing about hockey season is, well, at some point every year, it ends. A lot of time between now and the first puck drop, September 29th, as the case may be. Feels like an eternity for those of you who are accustomed to watching games nightly. The good news, Bet365 has plenty of games, just none that require skates. Bet365 Casino, you can choose between hundreds of slots, live tables, your favorite games, or at least your second favorite games. Must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. Kevin Woodley is next. Harrison Price from the historic Wall Center, your off-season uniform. It's officially arrived. Nation Gear has entered a new era with a collaboration with Levelwear Off-Season Social Club Connection. Or collection. It's a collection.
It's a little golfy. It's a little bit fun.
It's hanging out with friends. Yeah. It's weekend trips. It's repping your city. It's comfortable. It's versatile. It's made to represent the community you're a part of. So check out the Off-Season Social Club Collection. It's also a connection. Join at nationgear.ca. Our next guest is the proprietor of InGoal Media, covers the Vancouver Canucks for NHL.com, a longstanding and valuable voice in this market, and someone who did extraordinary work, I must say, Kevin Woodley, over 9 years at Sportsnet 650. It's great to have you on the show. Regrets about the loss of sports talk. Terrestrial sports talk radio in the city. How you doing otherwise?
Yeah, well, first off, thank you for that, the kind words. Yeah, it's been a tough couple of weeks. personally, obviously, there's a hit, both financially, my car sponsorship. I need to figure out whether I got to buy a new car. Like, there's realities of it. But at the end of the day, it's nothing for me as compared to those who, like, this was livelihood, and this was. It's not just that part of it; it's how much they put into it to build that sports station, and to make it as good as it was. There's real skin in the game there, and a lot of people put a lot of their soul into that place. So to have it yanked out like that is it's tough. It's really tough. And I think I'm catching up to you guys from a rink here in North Vancouver. I've been coming out to be on the ice doing some video with a goalie coach that I know and a couple of NHL prospects, and sort of having to make that commute without being able to just turn on the dial easily. I'm one of the olds, as you can see with the gray beard. So I've got to learn how to, manage and have the ability to sort of download and access sports that way. I think of the community and the audience, the voices lost for them. And then last but not least, I think it's disappeared a little bit. The charity work that went through that station. I mean, I was heavily involved in the Autism Network stuff. A lot of the money that was raised, it was always easier when you had that audience for Canucks Autism Network. Obviously, we took part in the events, but also raised a lot of money as a group and spread the word about that. And that also disappears. And that's the part.
Challenger baseball too.
Yeah, I do believe I heard yesterday
Jay's Care
Jay's Care Challenger baseball tournament. I do believe is still
Monday.
going forward.
Oh, it'll still exist, but the
100%.
mouthpiece isn't
That's
there
right.
anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And it's actually Monday, and John Olerud's the featured guest, and so still, it's always tough right now with Rogers attached to it. Still a fantastic cause. And so if anybody wants to get involved, they can look that up. But those are the things that disappear. It's, what? We talk about monopolies and the deals that the government has cut over the year to allow them to expand and build their monopolies. And, I know what I pay for cell bill for a month. And part of the pledge was to maintain sort of these community initiatives. Like, forget sports, 11:30 and the people that worked there that made sure that there was good, honest news. Like, that part was supposed to be a part of that commitment. And I know Patrick Johnson has talked about that with you guys and written about it quite well, and talked about it on your show. But pulling the rug out from under that, like, I feel like they're all corporations, but when they get deals and they make promises based on sort of a community partnership and a community commitment, this is them pulling the rug on the community commitment part of it.
Well, it's a shame there wasn't an evolution for the product. 1040 and 650 didn't have any attempts to modernize. I couldn't help but pay attention when Matt introduced you. It used to be InGoal magazine. Now it's InGoal Media because no magazine. It's you evolve.
He's beyond magazines.
Yeah, exactly. Because what is you evolve, and there was never an attempt to evolve. It was just we're gonna let technology consume us.
Well, and part of that too is, right, you want people turning on the dial as well, right? Like, because giving them alternatives means not. So I do, I do listen to a lot of podcasts. I just got to figure out how to get it into my car now. So, So
You'll get
it's been
there.
a tough couple of weeks, and I will. I'll learn. I'll have my kids teach me how to.
That's right. But let me just ask, Kevin, because you're one of my favorite people in the business, not just for the person you are and the content you provide, but that you found your niche and you grew it independently, like a completely self-made media company there. You grew up in this community. Like, how much of an inspiration, how much was having a place to sit there and listen to sports talk morning, noon, and night? How much did that sort of fuel you in your journey into sports media and with InGoal? And with InGoal, magazine, and now InGoal Media.
Well, I go back to Dan Russell and CKNW listening to sports talk at night when that was the only thing that existed. Yeah, absolutely. And to be honest, like, taking the passion that I built for goaltending and turning it into something of my own, I'm proud of what we've done. I'm glad we did it. But part of that was recognizing, as this media marketplace shrinks, as the job opportunities shrink, as a guy who made his living as a freelancer in the early going, like, I covered Cup finals for USA Today. I was a stringer for Sports Illustrated. We used to joke that I was a bit of a media whore. Like, if it came with a check, I would do it, right? And so we went from being a city that had, we had car races, we had the PGA Tour. I did a lot of PGA Tour coverage in the early days, recognizing that was shrinking, and that goaltending and sort of the things I was learning in the position and being in the media side gave me an opportunity to create a little independence from that shrinking marketplace. I covered the 2010 Olympics for the Associated Press. I was proud that I stuck around with the Associated Press and got to cover an Olympic Games, for for a wire service, because it's a different type of writing. It's also a different level when you're on those international stages. But I remember talking to my editor in New York at the time. She was in town, and she sort of gave me the heads up, hey, we love everything you've done here, but understand, we're going to be merging with, we're going to start getting our Canadian hockey coverage from CP. And, there might not be a spot here. It'd be kind of almost we held this spot for you because of the work you've done. And in other cities, we're just taking CP copy now. And so I recognized that I needed to create something independent. So I was no longer reliant on these big media companies because of the way their sort of hiring policies and work flow was shifting.
Yeah, bravo. But how old now is InGoal Media? When did you start it up?
We actually started InGoal magazine. I got to think 2010 Olympics. And I don't get all the credit here. David Hutchison, who's on Vancouver Island, founded it, started it. It originally started just sort of as a hobby, masks and things around the game that fascinated him as a goaltender. And I was working for Ian Clark in the goalie news. And when that folded, I had nowhere to go with sort of all these things I learned. And I connected with David Hutchison on the island. And it's hey, we got 2010 Olympics coming up. I'm going to have some unique stories that I don't get to tell with my other outlets. Do we want to see how this goes? And the traffic just went, through the roof. I'll never forget the Roberto Luongo story of having to change his glove because of IIHF rules on the cuff. And Pavel Demitra, rest in peace, with a chance to tie the game in the final seconds. Luongo makes a lunge and glove save, a fantastic moment, wrote about it in the mainstream. But then the behind the scenes was, hey, if the IIHF rules didn't force you to go back to an old generation of glove, which had what they called a two-piece cuff. So as I hold my hand out here, Roberto's was sort of curved down to the heel. The two-piece, essentially he made that save because the IIHF rules forced him to go back to an old piece of equipment that covered the wrist area differently. And he admitted it to me in the mix zone. He's like, yeah, you're right. Actually, I never thought of that, but 100%. So, and so InGoal magazine was born at that point in terms of more of a mainstream voice in the goalie world.
That's amazing. The subtlety and nuance that Kevin Woodley picks up on goaltending that the rest of us don't. And I still remember that glove hand ejecting pucks right into the slow slot in the gold medal game. I don't know how much
you mentioned Ian
trauma
Clark
he
there.
caused us all with that.
We saw the Canucks unveil all their coaching staff. I mean, what's Ian Clark up to these days? What's the latest on his role?
So year left on the contract. And I don't think a lot of people realize there was a year left on the contract, but when they shifted his role and rewrote the contract, getting an extra year out of it was a way of sort of taking, I think my read on it would be a way of taking what he was earning and spreading it out in a lesser role. So he's made whole. And in some ways that's a good thing, because now you buy yourself a year to see, are they interested? And when I asked RJ whether he believes they need a goaltending director or he believes in having a goaltender director, he didn't answer about the position itself. He just answered in terms of how he believes in Ian Clark. So, we'll see where this goes. Right now, I think the role is the same. He was on the ice at development camp this year in Abbotsford, which he wasn't the previous year under the previous regime.
Interesting.
At UBC. So that raised my eyebrows. Maybe a little more hands-on. Do we see an evolution back to the director role? I can't answer that. I do, and I said this elsewhere, I see that maybe as a bit of a canary in the coal mine. In terms of, is this group willing to spend? Because once this contract expires, if you want to keep him as a director, Ian has a lot of self-belief. And I think it's quite warranted. And he's not going to come back and work cheap. and undervalued. And so we'll see where, see whether they, I guess at the end of the day, I do believe them when they say they value it. Do they value it at the price tag that it might require? We'll have to see. But in the meantime, what a perfect transition. He's obviously been involved in scouting, like a lot of the draft picks they've made, and hear nothing but great things about the latest one. Reach out some Russian contacts about him and just rave reviews and glowing reviews. So wait and see. I think there's a degree of patience for this new Canucks management staff. I have, at least, in part because we know what they are as people. And where there's less urgency, and knowing just how much Ryan Johnson has to figure out, how much he has to undo, frankly. Mm-hmm. And I was probably more passionate in the last 7 or 8 months on those 650 hits, Matt, than I had been at any other point in time about how this team had lost the identity of what it meant to be a Canuck. And that all the things that when Stan Smeel was a GM for 2 days, he came in and he espoused so passionately, that had disappeared from this organization, gone. And so fixing that, getting the right people in place to help get that back, I believe in the Sedins and Ryan Johnson and their understanding of what that is. And I'm willing to be patient and give them time to, like, hockey ops and hockey decisions and what the team looks like are one thing. And I think they had to shift their focus towards that as we got the free agency and the draft. But that other part, I think, is, I don't want to say more important, but in my mind, it almost is. And it's going to take time. And because of the quality of people involved, I'm more than willing to have some patience with that. And that includes, not needing to say, Ian Clark's the goaltending director moving forward. We've done this, we've done that, we've hired him. I'm willing to have patience on all those matters.
Yeah.
What a sentence.
Well,
when Stan Smeel was GM for 2 days.
Yeah. First of all, Todd Harvey, director
honestly, we lost a lot of that. We lost a lot of that.
Yeah,
what it meant
for sure.
community-wise. We lost it when Horvat learned it from the Twins, but when he was gone, there was just no passing of the baton. Like the Pat Quinn to Brian Burke to Trevor Linden to the Sedin twins to Bo Horvat. Nobody took that torch. And it's who you are. It's how you treat the people around you, and it's what you do in the community. And it slipped. I'm sorry, it slipped significantly. And I believe that this group is sincere in its desire to return it.
Yep. First of all, we should mention Todd Harvey, director of amateur scouting, basically punted all questions on Dmitry Ivchenko and said it was Sidian Clark's selection in the third round of this past draft. Secondly, Kevin, there were some times I had to stop myself and remind, am I listening to Kevin Woodley? You were so strong on those hits because you're not a blistering hot take guy. I know that of you. And yet I felt you were just so strong over the last 6-7 months about, treating people right and all the standards that had slipped beyond just the hockey stuff at Canucks Sports Entertainment and with Rogers Arena. And look, here, effect to change, right? Like we see who's got the gigs now. So fantastic work there. Want to ask about Thatcher Demko. He has updated us a couple of times over the course of the summer, including getting back on the ice. My spies in Northland saying he's playing golf. He's walking around a little bit. So that's pretty good as well. What can you tell us about Thatcher Demko's recovery? Because Ryan Johnson did allow, he can't say with certainty that Demko will be good to go come training camp. Mentioned that just before the draft.
Right, and that was my question because Thatcher had posted that Instagram. I don't talk to Thatcher. I haven't talked to him, so I don't know what's going on in terms of this is not inside information. But much like you, Matt, your spies at Northlands, you get on the ice in Vancouver as a goaltender, and I'm going to hear about it. And so the session he posted about, there were other sessions. I won't say the rink because I don't want people lining up to try and watch or spy or get autographs. But I had people at that rink, I think it was the following week, tell me that, Marco Tranius was in town, was out there with him as well as with the rehab specialist, the Canucks staffer. I apologize, just brain cramp on the name there. Butterflies on the ice, like this isn't just skating gingerly, like that path back has started in earnest. Having your hips done is not unique to goaltenders. It's become a bit of a boutique surgery. When I helped do the research for the original Sports Illustrated article on this, like more than a decade ago, we found 12 and 13-year-olds having it. Thatcher's had it once before. That's the unique part. I still haven't been able to find any other goalies that have had it done twice. and had both hits done twice. So, but ignoring that part, because there's just uncertainty I don't know. Quite often it's like, this is an overstatement, hyperbole. It's harder than this, but it's like a lube job. Like, it's like you get an oil change and everything works better. And so often hip problems manifest in groin and knee and all the other things that have to compensate for that lack of internal rotation. And the fact that he's been able to fix that, like, this may be the hard reset. Obviously, they're hopeful it is. We don't know. I understand the skepticism, but a lot of people close to him are telling me that they're really positive early returns and that this could be the reset that takes the stress off the groins, which then takes the stress off the knees. And, there's been knee surgeries on both sides. There's issues, right? But this may be the kind of reset that allows him to get back to, the goalie we've seen in the past, which is one of the best in the league. Like, it's been a while and it's easy to forget. But he's in a class when he's right healthy. He's in a class that very few reach in the top echelon of the league.
925 save percentages have kind of gone the way of the dodo anyhow, but behind this defense, it's going to be extra hard. What would a 910 save percentage do to this team? And I mean that positively and negatively. They win more. Do they win too much? Do they get into that mushy middle of an 83-point season where they're neither close to the playoffs, but they've sunk their draft share? Like, what is a healthy, pretty darn good Thatcher Demko, if not elite, do for this team, do you think?
Well, first off, I won't talk numbers in terms of like a 9-10 because it all depends on the environment, right? Like,
yeah, totally.
Like I've written stories, and this is the conversation around goaltending. Sub 900 for the first time in over 30 years around the league in terms of the league average, right?
Yeah.
And yet I can say pretty confidently the goaltending's never been better. So how do you, how do those two worlds live? And where they live is the league average for expected save percentage, according to ClearSight Analytics last year, was 886. 886 was the average expected save percentage in the league. Wow. Like, it's just getting harder. So there's no way to sort of put numbers on it. That said, Blake, the best goaltending in the league last year was the Calgary Flames relative to environment. By the end of the year, after all their trades, they actually became a worse defensive environment on the season as a whole than the Vancouver Canucks. They were the only team that was worse. Dustin Wolf, after a bad first month, a tough first month, finished top 10. Devin Cooley was the best goalie in the entire league by rate stats. He just didn't play enough to sort of climb the list of the goals saved. So, best goalie tandem in the league. And all that did was take them from a shot at a top 3 pick to ending up drafting 6. So there's your risk, right? Like, there's your risk. It didn't hurt you much, but let's be honest, the difference between top 3 and 6 overall for a team that's rebuilding, that could be the difference between, it's bingo balls to land them DuPont. That's what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
But for anyone that says, get rid of him, that's too good a goaltending, I'll go counter too. I understand the need for it. And I don't want to be dismissive of it. I don't think we should be dismissive of it. You have a very young group, very young defensive group that will quickly lose confidence if they feel like every mistake they make ends up in the back of the net.
Totally.
There is real value in having goaltending that the rest of the team builds trust in, especially as you're trying to get them to buy in defensively. Like Connor Hellebuck, when he won the Hart and the Vezina, had the highest or one of the top 3 expected save percentage in the league. In other words, he had one of the easiest defensive environments. It was 903. And he won the Hart, and he still had a great season. He outperformed it, but he had one of the easiest environments in the entire league. I think you actually give him credit for that. Because when you have a guy that makes all the saves, if you know that if I do my job in this system, this guy is making that save, it becomes so much easier not to cheat the system or to deviate from it. So I know everyone's like, we want a high draft pick, we can't have good goaltending, but you're also trying to build the confidence of young athletes in front of
100%.
it, and having a good goaltender can make a massive difference in that. So I see both sides of this.
And not Adam Foote's defensive system. How much does Manny Malhotra improve the environment in front of Thatcher Demko.
Well, especially as it relates to
Well-
Lankinen, too, because Lankinen just had a shocker of a season after looking pretty darn good the previous year. Sorry, Kevin.
Well, it's environment, right? Like it's environment. And this isn't meant to be a criticism of Adam Foote, obviously, because he was a part of the defensive environment that they all excelled under when Rick Tocchet was the head coach. But I think a lot of us in the media have been around long enough and knew this group well enough that as soon as we, like pre-season interview, when Adam Foote started talking about some of the changes in the defensive zone and more emphasis on a read-based system, a little less simplistic system and more, if this happens, we do this. Like to a certain degree, every system has it, but leaning more towards the reads, knowing that Tyler Myers had struggled in a system where he's asked to do more sort of thinking, knowing that Marcus Pettersson hadn't been as effective. I think a lot of us looked at each other like, ooh, okay, like he knows this group, so obviously this is a change he thinks can work, but we kind of like, we scratched our heads, and I think we said publicly, like, some of these defenders have not had their best defending in systems that ask them to do this. Why are they switching to this? And it ended up being somewhat of an abject disaster. And the goalies bear the brunt, right? Like Rick Tocchet, let's take a look at what happened in Philadelphia. Dan Vladar looked pretty darn good because Rick Tocchet had them, so his goalies only had to worry about playing one half of the net. The game's never been more unpredictable. The 886 expected save percentage tells you that. But adding degrees of predictability for your goaltenders as a defensive coaching system is so important.
Kevin, when last we talked to you, I believe it was shortly after Demko was announced done for the season, we were discussing Lankinen's struggles, and we came across Nikita Tolopilo, and you said, hey, just give him runs, see what you've got there. He is no longer waiver exempt. How much are you sweating that situation as we head into training camp, and what's your forecast for Tolopilo here in 26-27?
Chances of clearing waivers probably went up as the end of the season unraveled. I would disagree with some of the decision-making around some of those starts. I did at the time. I thought you could have given him more runway. But the reality is for the first half of his time up, he performed at a level relative to that environment that opened eyes around the league. And there's a skill set there. There's a length there. There's a size there, a Dobish-like qualities physically that I think teams and goalie coaches around the league, had their eyes open to. Now, listen, if you claim a guy off waivers, you got to keep him in the National Hockey League, right? So, like, you only lose him if the team thinks he can upgrade their tandem, or a team thinks that we're going to run 3 this year. And I think we're going to see more of it. It's not going to become common, but it's going to become more common. There's already several teams talking about it. And they think that maybe he can be the guy that we keep. I think the Canucks would be wise to at least consider that as a possibility themselves. So listen, Spencer Martin, coming off one of his tougher years, got claimed off waivers from the Vancouver Canucks once. So I still think it's a very real possibility because of those tools that Tolopilo would be lost. But there are other guys around the league in the same boat. And so is he ahead of Levi Meriläinen, who 2 years ago was exceptional in the NHL, succumbed to expectations in a larger role in Ottawa last year, and now is facing the same situation? Like last summer, I did a poll of like 20 goalie directors and coaches and scouts around the league, and Levi Meriläinen, his vote total added up to a top 10 prospect in the league. So does one down season mean that he doesn't get claimed off waivers? Tolopilo is in that conversation. Obviously, I don't know where, but that possibility exists. Of course, on the flip side, too, the Canucks, I think, have first waiver priority. So do they look at a Meriläinen and be like, okay, we'll claim him, and we see more upside him, kind of like the decision Toronto makes. They let Hildeby go because they see more upside in Akiyama. I don't know which one Vancouver would see, but waivers are going to be really interesting when it comes to goaltending this year. Like I said, more teams are going to carry 3.
Yep. Wow, that's quite interesting. And you're not wrong on the waiver side. And the Canucks with priority, it's a great shout. I mean, they're going to get their pick of the litter
at the outset.
When teams make these cuts and set their opening night roster. Kevin, my dude, thanks so much for this time. Again, you were just a joy to listen to on 650. We look forward to having you on the show here. And, of course, supporting InGoal Media as a true success story of Canadian homegrown independent media. Thanks for this, and we're going to get out on the links this summer, as always.
Yeah.
Okay?
See you, Kevin.
Well, absolutely, especially now that I see you guys have levelware as part of your nation gear. They did a Blake. Blake knows how I roll here. They did They did. What do you call that when you combine with like Nate? Like what do they call that?
Collab.
A collab. Thank you. Again, I'm one of the olds. They did a collab with I think it was Hurley. It was either Hurley or Rick Curl.
Yeah, Hurley.
And
That's right.
the golf hoodies with the sort of surf themed patterns. Let's just say there's one of those in my closet. So absolutely to the Nation Gear level where collab, I am all aboard. I love it, guys.
And White Rock Hyundai. Let's get him a car, huh?
Yeah,
one last car, huh? One last time with feeling.
They've been so good to me over the years. I can't thank them enough, guys. Thanks for letting me give them a shout out.
Thank you, sir. Secure some price from the historic Wall Center. We go to the opposite coast, Blake, where Vanni Sartini is the head coach of the Halifax Wanderers of the Canadian Premier League, the ex-coach, of course, of Vancouver Whitecaps FC. He has served as our World Cup insider. Down to the final weekend, 2 matches to go. Vanni, good to see you. Thanks for the time. How you doing?
Very good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah. Well, this World Cup started with the world ridiculing your beloved Azzurri, Italy, for not making the tournament. England yesterday said, hold my pint. A collapse for the ages against Argentina. And suddenly we have a Argentine-Spain final. They have not played competitively for 60 years. This is the reigning European champion and the reigning world champion. Before we get on to the English collapse, just your thoughts on what we should expect Sunday in a match that will be watched by 1 billion plus people, right, in the World Cup final.
Yeah, fantastic game. I think, you were saying World Cup champions against European champions, but also Argentina, they are the Copa America winners, the last Copa America winners in 2024. So let's say statistically, they're the 2 best national teams of the decade, basically, at least of the last 4 or 5 years. And we're gonna have a great game. I think that. If it would be like a normal game, I would say Spain would be the favorite. I think Spain is a team that is more solid. They're playing really well. They have a very good possession game, but they're also a very good defensive game. They're able to really control the game like they did, for example, all around the tournament, but especially in the semifinal against France without risking too much. But the story of the tournament is like how Argentina is always like coming back from 2-0 against Egypt and then winning. Against England, they were losing. That seemed like England was in control, and then they win. Against Cape Verde, they almost lost, and then they won. Against Switzerland, they were losing, and then a red card putting them on the front foot. So. It's gonna be very, very interesting. I imagine the Spain being more in control of the game, Spain being more having the possession of the ball, and Argentina trying to rely in some form of either counterattack or direct play that try to involve Messi up top. So if in a normal game I would say 65-35. Because it's the World Cup, I would say 55-45 for Spain.
Yeah, and there it is. 2-2 versus Cape Verde at 110 minutes. Down 2-0 to Egypt in the 78th minute. 1-1 with the Swiss in the 111th minute. And, of course, yesterday down 1-0 in the 84th minute to England. Argentina has 2 goals in the knockout stage before the 79th minute. They have 9 goals after the 79th minute in the knockout stage. And Vanni, I watched the game yesterday with this fella and a friend of mine who's a big basketball fan, and we're walking off Granville Street, like just trying to compute what we had just seen. And we basically just said, Lionel Messi is Michael Jordan. Like, for anybody who remembers Michael Jordan in the championship era, if they needed a basket at the end of the game to win the game or to win the championship, he delivered time and again. Tom Brady in the 2-minute drill, right? Time and time again. Except this guy does it in the sport where it's hardest to score, Vanni. Like,
less individual.
Yeah, and less individual.
Yeah.
Talk to me about how that game got away from England yesterday and how the great Lionel Messi was able to orchestrate a couple of goals and get his team through to the final.
Yeah, there's two things. First of all, Messi is amazing. I think this tournament is the definitive for me statement to the GOAT debate. Messi, Maradona, Pele, whatever. There's nobody like Messi in the history of the game. That's point. Like that is the someone that was doing this fantastic thing, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, and he's still doing it. So that's actually crazy. About yesterday, yes, I think yesterday Argentina has been helped a lot by England and by the decision that England and the coaching staff of England took, especially after the hydration break of the second half. So I think immediately when I saw that change, when they take off Gordon and put off Kwanzaa to make a back five, I thought that it was, to be honest, I would say a mistake, because since that moment, Argentina wasn't able to build up. Basically, they didn't create anything, and they weren't able to bring the ball in the final third. On top of that, for the entire tournament, Argentina hasn't played like a special flavor of football. They're very organized. They rely a lot on what we were saying before of the invention of Messi in the final third, and of the, I would say, this, I don't know how to say, like this will of trying to win, the people that run into the box when then there's crossing there. So the worst thing that you could do is to facilitate for the other team to bring the ball in the last 30 meters. And that's what actually England did, because they gave up completely the high pressure. With 5 defenders and 3 midfielders, was very easy to go around the midfield of England, where Messi was every time like rolling out and receiving the ball, especially on the right side when he can come in on the left. And if you bring the ball in the last 30 meters so easily against the team that has the best player in the history of the game, sooner or later, you're gonna concede goal, because they're gonna invent something, and that's what happened. I think Argentina in the last 20 minutes, they could have scored like 8 goals. They have 2 posts. Pickford made a great save, and I think it was like.
So why don't they adapt, Vanni? Like how does the England touchline not see this and say, okay, like this is no good. We gotta.
Okay, so
I gotta be honest. Is really, really, really hard to understand for 2 reasons. First of all, the England coach is one of the best coach of the last 10, 15 years. Thomas Tuchel is a really good tactician. He's someone who, I remember in 2021, I watched this final, Chelsea-Man City, and I remember him outplaying with his ideas Guardiola in that game, and winning, and Chelsea winning the game, because how Thomas Tuchel changed the thing before the game and during the game. And of course, is a top coach. So the one thing that I have in mind is, beside the fact that the World Cup is special, that everybody can go crazy for 10 minutes because it's the pressure and everything, it's maybe the players on the bench that were direct replacement of the guy up top, they weren't ready to play. I don't know, maybe Saka, maybe Madueke, they weren't ready to play, and he was forced to make that change, because, to be honest, tactically has been something very close to a suicide.
So with all that, and you're a member of the coaching fraternity, and he's under contract till 2028.
Yeah.
You're in charge of the English Federation. Is he on the sideline, on the touchline for you in 2028 at the Euros?
For me, yes, for 2 reasons. One, okay, made a mistake yesterday, but England arrived in the semifinal of the World Cup. So, if at the end there's 44 teams out of 48, maybe 45, I include Italy that wasn't there, they would wanted to be in the situation that England was yesterday, losing a semifinal, because, at the end, it's not easy to arrive at the end of a great tournament. you've seen top team like Portugal, like Germany, like Brazil, that they went out round of 32, round of 16. So that's the first thing. You need to look at everything from the qualification campaign and to the game, and hoping that it will be a lesson for him for sure for the next Euro. And the second thing, I think that also is making a ton of money. So to sack him now, probably not.
I don't think that federation's lacking funds, though. I think they're going to be okay.
For the federation, so that's the thing.
Spain has dominated the ball. They don't need to score a ton of goals, but they're not going to turn down the opportunity. The kid turned 19. Is it time for Lamine Yamal to show up in the final and maybe get on the score sheet with a goal himself, or has he played well enough in just helping to create, do you think?
I think he did well in the last game. It was probably his best game. He got his penalty. He created a penalty for Spain, and then all the main threat for France arrived from the right side. Even the goal, even if he wasn't involved, but it's because the fullback is so, I would say, focused on mark him that they leave a big gap between the fullback and the center back, and Porro can run in that gap and score a goal. So I think the strength of Spain is that. The strength of Spain is that is not relying on Yamal being Yamal, but being a very good team. And again, through the like the quality of the game, the application, I really like that. Probably the front page guys at the moment are Cucurella, Porro, Oyarzabal, that are not players, that are are always in contention for winning big individual, I would say, awards. So if Yamal, it's gonna be a mismatch. I think Yamal against Tagliafico on the right and on the left with Argentina. I think Yamal can win easily that 1v1 if it's in. So maybe either winning that 1v1 or forcing Argentina to defend heavily on the left side, you can bring the ball on the other side and kill them. So I think that Spain has a little bit of the advantage, to be honest.
Soccer fans know who Rodri is, but newcomers to the sport probably know Messi, they know Yamal, and maybe it ends there. Should they know who Rodri is by the end of this term, especially if Spain wins?
Yeah. Rodri is a top player. When we talk about midfielder of Spain, we have all in our head that crazy generation of Xavi, Iniesta, Busquets that won the World Cup, that won the Euros in the 10s. Rodri is at that level. Is a player that he presses, he manages the build-up. He's a guy that he covers ground. He won the Ballon d'Or. He won the Euro. It's not by accident that Man City had his worst season the year that he was injured, right after the final of the Euros, and he didn't play basically for a year, and Man City had the worst season in 24-25. So, I think that they should know. He plays a kind of game that is more for, I would say, real soccer, I want to say expert, or I want to say real soccer lover, because it's not a game that is wow with his 1v1 flashes and everything. But for sure is in the top 11 for sure of the World Cup. Yeah.
Okay, you guys get your corner table and express your Rodri love. Okay, for the rest of us who aren't the soccer experts that you two are.
Yeah.
Of course, Mike's got the visual. It's going to be everywhere between now and Sunday if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
The UNICEF photo of years ago, that is baby Lamine Yamal in the tub with a much, much younger Lionel Messi bathing him. So as many saying, this was ordained all these years ago. Baptized, yeah. Vanni, we saw Erling Haaland's big coming out party for Norway, the Man City man. Obviously, Kylian Mbappe is a hell of a player for France. But is Yamal the guy going forward? Like, does he take the torch from Messi as the best player in the world at some point, and maybe as soon as Sunday?
Yeah, I would say yes. I think it will be. So Mbappe is still very young. I think he's like I don't know, 26 or something. So
27, yeah.
27. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I think it will be a little bit Mbappe versus Yamal as the best player in the world. Maybe I would say the third one. He didn't have a fantastic World Cup, but Vinicius for Brazil is another that plays for Real Madrid. That is another guy that is, and of course Holland. There's a kind of a different guy because he's most of a finalizer. He's a finalizer. He's less of a, I would say, a flashy, beautiful player to watch like the other guy. I have to be honest. They will be probably the best player in the world. I think I don't know how long he will play. But it will be sad when Messi will stop playing because Messi. And again, I wasn't for years in the party of being this Messi geographer, let's say like this, to this Messi, because I always said when he was in Barcelona, yes, he's like this because he plays in the best team in the world and everybody's playing for him. No, he showed everywhere, and he came to MLS, and everybody says, "Yeah, he came to MLS. It's a lower league." Yeah, a lot of players came to MLS at age even younger than Messi, and they did not even half of what Messi did. So, the fact that they also continue to do this at the top stage, these players will take the torch, but to reach that height is going to be really hard.
So you like Spain to win? Is that what I'm hearing?
I think so. Yeah. Even though, again, the World Cup final it's going to be hard to top the last one. The last World Cup final was fantastic. The 3-3 and all the. But if I would say yes, I think Spain, because contrary to what happened to England yesterday, Spain, if it goes up in the score, they can manage the game. They can manage the game, and they manage the game defending far from the goal and defending when they are in possession and defending pressing. So I think that the key for Argentina, even though they've been fantastic, as you were saying before, is scoring in the last 15 minutes. I think if they want to win this game, they have to score first.
We will put you down.
Let's move past the World Cup now, because after 84 weeks of the World Cup, I think it's what it's been. Feels like it's been that long. It eventually will end, and then we'll have to wonder what it has done to the sport here in North America. And after 1994, everybody was like, okay, soccer's arrived in North America. It's going to happen. And it kind of happened. MLS started. That was something, but that had speed wobbles at various times. It didn't launch into the stratosphere. But now that bedrock has been laid, does it launch into the stratosphere? Do we have to keep our expectations more modest? And what does it mean in particular in Canada for you as a CPL coach? Health of the CPL. You know that the Whitecaps and CF Montreal have some question marks around them. Do any of these questions get answered here in the short term, do you think?
Well, I don't know if in the short term. I think, yes. It's true that we didn't go into the stratosphere after 94, but also we started from scratch. There was nothing. Right. There was nothing here. So, it's something that, it's like in 30 years in North America, we have, I would say, a very good league that is not at the level of the top league in Europe, but it's for sure one of the top 10 league in the world, the MLS. We have three, if you include Mexico. Mexico's always been, but three national teams that are competitive at every level. Competitive to Canada, United States, and Mexico. They're not the top in the world, but they can play against everybody in the world, and they can win against everybody in the world. We need to make the next step, in my opinion, in terms of engagement. You see, we were talking before getting on air about the fantastic atmosphere that was in Vancouver with the fans and everything. And we need to capitalize in terms of engagement and make this sustainable for this, I would say, domestic product that we have, that can be the MLS for the city that we have the MLS, or the CPL for the city that we have the CPL. I think it's hard. It's harder than before. I have this theory that instead of 94 and 2026, the World Cup will arrive in I would say 66, and then the second one in the 1990, that would have been much more easy. Because the problem now is this, we are 6,000 kilometers from distance, and we can talk and we can see everybody. We can see games in every part of the world. And if you love soccer and you create and you are a guy that, oh, beautiful, I want to be a soccer fan, it's too easy to be a soccer fan now and watch the Champions League or the English Premier League instead of watching maybe the MLS or the CPL. So I think that these domestic leagues, they have to be very creative in how to market their product. I gotta be very honest. I don't think that it's been done a good job. I'm talking about the MLS. I have more experience now because I was before with all these deal that you had to pay a subscription to go there and bring in this thing like it's an elite thing when it still is not an elite thing. We need to be made accessible to everybody. We need to make it accessible to the big public. Because rightly so, if I have $10 to spend for a subscription, maybe I spend $10 to watch the Champions League and not to watch, I don't know, Colorado, Nashville, with all due respect for Colorado and Nashville.
Yes.
And that's so I think that is the first thing to do. And the second thing to do is to, I would say, create opportunity for everybody in the country to play. And I think in this, we are in the right direction. We never had like these numbers of participants in the sports like we have now, also to follow it. Now I am in the CPL now, and the CPL is born in 2019 with 8 teams with a clear intention to expand to as many cities as possible in Canada. And we still are at 8 teams because some teams came in and some teams get out. I think we need the maximum, people from every city in the country. They saw that there's appetite for soccer, and I think we need to facilitate investment in the sports in every city in order that ideally every city, every town of a discernible size should have a team to root, and this is the only way for me to make this as a really mass phenomenon.
And that's the English model, right? Like all these itty bitty towns have their own clubs, and the town supports the club, and then also has a Premier League side.
Well, maybe the most important thing is not the CPL, but the League Ones across the country too, right? The Division 3 circuits too to really promote
everything. Every layers. I think, to be honest, CSA is doing a massive job to do this League One now. There's League One in BC, in Ontario, in Quebec, in Alberta. They want to try to do, I know because I'm involved here with the club, to try to do a League One for all the Atlantic Canada. So again, we need to create this kind of ball rolling, because everybody saw that this appetite. Of course, the World Cup it's a show that I always say it, even my grandma watched the World Cup, and she doesn't know even the rules of soccer. But we need to capitalize with this great event and to make this sport the most popular possible.
He's an Italian man on a Halifax pier. He's our World Cup insider, Vanni Sartini. Coach, good luck against Calgary Cavalry on Saturday. Whitecaps tenderized them for you this week. So, all right, best of luck then. Thank you.
I hope they tied them. They tied them so we can go easier on them.
Go Wanderers.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, Manny.
Bye-bye. Ciao.
Some price from the historic Wall Center, the Nation Network studio built by Arbor Lee. Big game downtown. Make Sheraton Vancouver Wall Center your home base for game night and beyond. Walk to the action, sleep like a champ. Plan your stay at wallcenter.com. Well, Vancouver Whitecaps FC resume their MLS schedule this evening in smoky Chicago. Apparently the air quality is not great there, as it is in many parts of the continent these days. They are leading the Western Conference. They are 1 point back of the league lead. They will face a Chicago Fire team and the expected debut of former Bayern Munich and Polish striker Robert Lewandowski. His MLS debut for the Fire, an ex-teammate and good friend of Caps midfielder Thomas Müller. They combined on a lot of goals for Bayern over the years. Blake, Müller spoke with local media yesterday and was asked about Lewandowski. We'll get to that. But he was, of course, asked about... Guy's got some World Cup history, too, huh? He was asked about Vancouver as a World Cup host city. Here's Müller.
I heard Vancouver was ranked number 1 host city, so let's go from there, huh? Well done. And I can understand. I wasn't walking at Granville Street. I was just crossing it. Maybe a good idea to cross it and not to walk it, but it looked amazing and the atmosphere was very nice. And I was in Toronto too, so it's kind of the same. Not the same. So I would say you could feel it a little bit more here, maybe because the Canadian team played in Vancouver. But yeah, so far, yeah, maybe we all didn't expect it like that, but it's so far a great World Cup in my opinion.
Yeah, well, he's an authority on the topic. He worked as a commentator for some games, including at BC Place. He joked that it was, and how about this? He broke out a masochistic, Blake.
Mm-hmm.
He said it was masochistic to be so close to a World Cup pitch and not be able to play that he was torturing himself.
Well, for more than one reason.
He said he said he enjoyed his media experience, but it wasn't life-changing because he likes to have agency. He likes to have control. And as a media guy watching the game, you're just a passive observer of the proceedings. You are not the Raumdieter in the middle of the pitch.
It's why a lot of elite players don't go into the media afterwards. Is they'd rather not be half close and not be able to. They'd rather just be fully away.
Yeah. Well, and some do it to retain that connection. With the game. But Thomas Müller got a bird's eye view of BC Place in its World Cup dress. He was a little envious of that as well. Here he is.
No, I smelled the grass. I smelled the grass the first time in BC Place. Is it already out?
Yes. They're very fast. But I was thinking, like, from that side, how did that go for you? How was it being?
No, I meant it maybe also because it was red.
Yes.
It red all over the place, so that felt a little bit strange. But it wasn't. Did I say it's different?
No, I'm just, did it feel different? Like as a commentator, you had to stand there. I mean,
it was just you could feel the excitement, but I can feel it most of our games too.
Sure.
So not in every game, to be honest, not in every game. But in most of the games we have here at home, especially when it was full against LAFC. We had and we have a great stadium.
Yes.
And if it's full and the people are enthusiastic, then it's really enjoyable to play at BC Place.
And there's the caveat: if it's full.
Yeah.
If it's full.
Well, and more on that in a second for their next match there. He acknowledged he has spoken with Lewandowski and told him about MLS life. He also said he would have to keep that secret between them. I do wonder, because he is so charismatic, because he is so honest, because he is so willing to engage, if like people in Thomas Müller's circle have to like double down and say, okay, now Thomas, I don't want you tweeting about this. I don't want you posting about this.
He's an excited puppy. Yes. He's an excited puppy. You've got to tamp him down every now and then.
He said he wished his old mate success. He predicted goals in MLS, just not tomorrow. So
not a Berhalter Bowl either, right? Because no Seb to take on his dad, so it'll just be Greg, no Seb.
But you're telling me Kubas
is available, they say. Yeah, he trained once, and he's not out of fitness. He played every minute for Paraguay.
Did he ever?
So he'll be ready to roll.
Upper Bowl sections are now open for this August 1st return to BC Place match versus the Great Korean Star Sunny and LAFC. August 1st, they're opening sections 410 and 418.
410 to 418, I believe.
Sorry, 28. They're already north of 30,000 tickets sold for that one. So it will be yet another big crowd
Very
to
fun.
see the Caps and LAFC, which has turned into a really fun rivalry. I was this close to asking Vanni about Tim Ford's whereabouts and if he'll be working that game.
If only it were on grass. If only, as Muller lamented.
The other thing we should say, this guy's a decent follow on social media. Brent Toderin, who is the former city planner for the city of Vancouver, was tweeting about this 7-week extension of the pedestrian mall on Granville. Now, he's talking about watching Whitecaps, Vancouver Rise, Blue Jays, Vancouver Canadians baseball. I'm not sure he's the most well-read in sports fan.
No.
I'm not sure all those teams would draw watch party crowds on Granville. But the idea of watch the game on Granville and maybe leaving these temporary patios on the street. Blake and I watched the game at an establishment on Granville yesterday. Was your first time watching a game on?
Watching a game, yeah.
Yeah. And the vibe, I mean, I was talking to a gentleman. He says, yeah, I'm in construction. We're working on a hotel down here. And he goes, oh, my God, like the difference from when we first started, when all this wasn't set up, and what it is now. He said, like I sat there, working on this hotel going, who's going to stay here when you can like walk out the door to human feces on the alley or on the sidewalk? One of the things that I think has been key, like, first of all, the city cleaned up Granville like it hasn't cleaned up Granville in a while going into this.
Yes, deep clean.
But the other thing between the Granville Street previous to the World Cup pedestrian mall setup is when you take the cars off of Granville, because there's a police station right there at like Granville and Drake, instead of the cops getting in and out of the cruisers and just using it as a thoroughfare, they actually have to walk the street and patrol it. And that makes a big difference. Like, you could have gone to Granville 2 months ago and found people shooting up in the street in broad daylight. I did not see that on about a half dozen visits to Granville over the last month. And that's because you do have such a big police presence there walking up and down the street.
Yeah, and again, it costs money, but I think it's money well spent. And it's...
I agree.
And, I've been lucky enough to be covering Spengler and World Championships, so I've been to Europe a bunch in the last couple of years. The pedestrian promenade, it features in all of the great cities of the world. We deserve one too. People have talked about closing Robson down. I don't care which one it is, but it's just wider on Granville. You can do more. I think
Granville makes more sense.
And you got proof of concept. You've done it. It looks great. It feels great.
Yep. No, for sure. I was a little skeptical because back east there were some pedestrian malls that really weren't all that popular. But I'm absolutely convinced that we should take the cars off Grant. Still allow the crossings, right? Still allow the crossings at Davie and Helmkin and Smythe and Nelson and everywhere there's the crossings. You have to keep those like they have for World Cup up to Georgia. Of course, Robson's
and I'm open to being part-time too, Matt. I'm open to this
for just
being
the summer.
So like a June 1st to September 30th thing. I'm open to a part-time one. Because I don't
honestly,
know
I'd like to see it more permanent. I just wonder if it would do more for the city and for the street if it was more permanent. BC Lions into the Alberta capital tomorrow to face the Elks, coming off that win over Edmonton at Touchdown Kelowna a couple of weekends ago. Great news on the injury front for BC. The bye week allowed guys to get healthy and return. Vernon's Ben Vladek at linebacker. Uber veteran TJ Lee to start at defensive halfback. Levi Bell is good to go and will start at defensive end. He had a terrific close last year after coming over very, very late. You almost never see that. Drop in American players late in the season who wind up taking on big roles, but Bell did just that for them last year. Looking forward to him and Kieran Poisson in that injury-ravaged wide receiver spot. Lions 1-3, Elks 4-1. BC plays its first home game at BC Place next weekend. So we'll get a little bit back to normalcy with the Lions.
But that's one way that you can sort of
CFL
envision a sweep over the Elks is, okay, yeah, you're going to try to beat them 2 games in a row, and that's tough. But you just got a hell of a lot healthier. You got fresh legs in there. Nobody's battered and bruised. I mean, This is one way in which you can pull off a two-game sweep.
Edmonton coming off a win they played last week. Jays begin the unofficial second half of the baseball season tomorrow at home against the White Sox. The Mariners host the lowly San Francisco Giants. Of course, we're 2 weeks away from the Major League Baseball trade deadline. We assume the Mariners are going to be buyers again. We'll see what pathway the Blue Jays choose. It may very well be determined by these next 17 games before the deadline. Vancouver Canadians on the road for the next 9 games. They return to historic Nat Bailey Stadium Tuesday, July 28th. This is versus Spokane. 75-cent hot dogs. A high A pennant giveaway. You'll have to fight David Quadrelli for the last one. And take your pooch to the park day. That's right. You can bring your dog on Tuesday, July 28th. 18 home games remaining at the Nat, and many will sell out. Plan ahead. Secure your tickets, 604-872-5232 or CanadiansBaseball.com. The Open Championship from Royal Birkdale, where Abbotsford's Nick Taylor cards a 2-under. That was tied for 10th at the time he finished his round. He birdied the first 3 holes, Blake, and was tied for the lead right out of the chute. He also talked with Adam Stanley about a bit of a different preparation this year for the Open. Taylor has not made the cut at the Open in 3 career attempts. He talks about how it's a bit of a cramming session because, needless to say, these English and Scottish golf courses are much, much different than what they play week in, week out at the PGA Tour.
I always expect Canadians to do well at the Open Championship. Like, we play in weather here, you know? Like, I always think it should be more natural.
You think growing up in Abbotsford he played in some rain?
Yeah, I think so.
It's fast, it's firm, balls are rolling out. Taylor talked about how, while it is a cramming session, in previous years he tried to do too much. He got himself tired out, fatigued. He wanted to keep the practice rounds to a minimum. He only played 2 9-hole practice rounds. So he wants to stay fresh. He also talked about how his strategy this week is, when are you going to take on those pot bunkers, right? That you are going to have to make some calculations in terms of, when am I going for it? When am I taking on pot bunkers around the greens to see if he can make birdies and eagles?
I didn't follow up on I think Hideki Matsuyama might have used a putter out of a pot bunker today.
Oh, my goodness.
And he got it within like 12 feet. The guys are good, to borrow their old slogan.
A putter.
I think
surely that's the downgrade, the downhill putt.
I need to do more investigation. Put it on E's and O's. I don't know if he used the back of the, I don't know what the hell happened.
You're not putting it up the high side of the slope.
I'll investigate.
Okay. Poll question results from yesterday. Better sing-along, Hey Jude or Wonderwall? Blake, this was razor thin, the margin.
Yeah, I'll go recency bias, Wonderwall.
Hey Jude, by the hairs on Jude's chinny chin chin, 50.2% to 49.8%. We're into automatic recount territory there. Calling and planning. Hey Jude is the better song. That's not a debate. However, the sing-along Hey Jude is centered on an individual player in a team sport. For that reason, I choose Wonderwall.
Fairness.
Jay, song for team celebration trumps song for individual celebration. Look at the hockey guys weighing in here, right? And Mick Canucks says nothing beats the na-na-na-nas of Hey Jude. It's accessible. Everybody can sing along.
Yeah.
I did not get an E or an O on today's, from yesterday's program. We will check on Matsuyama's putter out of the pot bunker.
Yeah.
For Monday's show. That's our next program. No show tomorrow on the Friday. Thanks for joining us and connecting with the program. Please do subscribe to all our assorted channels, YouTube in particular, and wherever you get your platforms. Leave a like while you're at it, too. We'd appreciate that. Of course, follow on social, X, Insta, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky Live, many of those platforms, noon Pacific time weekdays. And please do support the community sponsors you hear us talking about. Keep it local.